Thank you for having me here today. First, a little bit about myself. I'm a member of the Rotary Club of Woodstock. I've been in Rotary a little over 10 years. After I served as president, I was asked to become an assistant governor. And when I was explaining to my husband that I was going to take on this role and that it would be a little more time away from home, he said, "So what's the path from assistant governor to district governor?" And I said, I am not going to do that, no. So you can see how that worked out for me. But as I've worked with more people at the district level, gone to other clubs, I've really enjoyed getting more involved with Rotary and met a lot of great people in this district, and so I am happy to be here today in this role. A lot of people talk about the difference between when you joined Rotary and when you became a Rotarian. And I can tell you, I became a Rotarian the first December that I helped our club with our Christmas Clearinghouse project. Christmas Clearinghouse delivers a... Thank you. And thank you for having me here today. First, a little bit about myself. I'm a member of the Rotary Club of Woodstock. I've been in Rotary a little over 10 years. After I served as president, I was asked to become an assistant governor. And when I was explaining to my husband that I was going to take on this role and that it would be a little more time away from home, he said, "So what's the path from assistant governor to district governor?" And I said, I am not going to do that, no. So you can see how that worked out for me. But as I've worked with more people at the district level, gone to other clubs, I've really enjoyed getting more involved with Rotary and met a lot of great people in this district, and so I am happy to be here today in this role. A lot of people talk about the difference between when you joined Rotary and when you became a Rotarian. And I can tell you, I became a Rotarian the first December that I helped our club with our Christmas Clearinghouse project. Christmas Clearinghouse delivers a full meal and age-appropriate toys to families that are under the poverty level in our school district. That first year that I helped, we delivered to over 1,100 families. And as I was working the car loading line, greeting the people who were driving up, answering questions, giving them some instructions, and as I was seeing all the different people who came through the line, very often Karen Hutchings right here, but as I was seeing the people come through the line, I was seeing so many people I knew from so many aspects of my life, and it really, really hit me how Rotary brought together so many people from our community to serve others in our community. And it really took a group like Rotary to bring together so many people to do a good thing in our community. And that's when I really appreciated the power of Rotary. So today I want to talk a little bit about the Rotary Action Plan, because the action plan can help you, the different steps of the action plan can help you make your club stronger and more vibrant. So there are 4 steps to the action plan. The first is to increase your impact. Now, before you can increase your impact, an important step is you need to measure your impact. And when I talked about Christmas Clearinghouse, I said we delivered that first year to 1,100 families, and last year was 1,300 families, and it's probably going to increase again this year. But that's a very easy one, because to do that, we have to have addresses. With the addresses, we have a list, and it's easy to count. Actually, Excel counts for us, but we can count. That's very, very easy to do. There's other projects that can be more difficult. A food drive for a food pantry. You get a bunch of food. If you tell people you collected a bunch of food, it's not really impressive. But you can get really scientific and weigh all of the food. But you can also estimate how much food you have. If you've got a box here and it weighs about 10 pounds and you've got 10 of those boxes, you've got 100 pounds of food. And nobody's going to come back and say, we measured all that, and it was only 93 pounds. You can estimate on a lot of things. And once you measure, you can do two things with that. You can see how you did year over year. The next year, are you doing more? Did your results drop off? And you can also use that to tell the story. And when you tell the story of your projects, that's when people get intrigued, they get interested, they want to come and be a part of the good that you are doing. And then Rotary International has an impact that they want us to help with, and that's in ending polio. At International Convention in June in Calgary, Bill Gates was on a live video feed, and Bill Gates announced that the Gates Foundation would be renewing their two-for-one match of our End Polio Now contributions for a total of $450 million. So we've got a great partner with us in this fight, and we really need to, to keep supporting it to get that last mile done and get polio eliminated. Step 2 in the action plan is to expand our reach. And the best way you can expand your reach is by growing and diversifying your membership. Now, I'm going to tell you about a project we did in our Woodstock Club. And I'm going to preface this by saying this isn't the only way to do a membership push in your club, but it's one that I was very involved with in Woodstock. And so I can tell you in detail how we did it, and I can answer questions if there are any. Other clubs have done similar things, but like I said, this is how we did it. We started out deciding that we wanted to do a satellite club. And a satellite club can be a little difficult because you've got to have a constitution, bylaws, you have to have officers. There's a red tape that's involved in this whole project. And I should mention, the reason we wanted to do a satellite club, we meet at noon on Fridays, and you're a lunch club also. There are people who just cannot meet at lunch. It just doesn't work for them. A classroom teacher cannot say, all right, kids, take out your books, start reading on page 50, I'll be back in an hour and a half, 2 hours, be good. That doesn't work. There's other people, a sole proprietor business owner cannot walk out the door and leave the place unattended for 2 hours. A lot of medical personnel cannot do that. There's a lot of people that just cannot attend a lunch meeting. So our idea was to do a happy hour meeting. The happy hour meeting is on the third Wednesday of the month, 5:30 to 6:30. We meet at a local restaurant that has, in the bar area, there's a bit of a separate room. And people come, number one, they can have a drink if they want to, but they don't even have to have a drink. There's no food included in that meal or in that meeting time. If they want to stay afterwards, socially and have a meal, that's fine, but they are not required to pay for a meal as part of the meeting cost. Our lunch club, it's $20 for lunch now. And just once a month, and they are focused on service. So how do we get this meeting started? At one of our regular club meetings, we spent the whole meeting basically brainstorming names of people that we thought should be in the Extension Club. And some of this was, all right, who owns the local flower shop? Oh, that's Lynn. Okay, who knows Lynn? Who can talk to Lynn? And then some of it was, was things like someone looked at me and said, hey, Marlene, what about your friend Elizabeth? So my friend Elizabeth, her family owned a fairly sizable business over in McHenry, next town over. Elizabeth was very involved in the running of that company. She was never a good candidate for our club because she couldn't get away, as I said, for that lunch meeting. And so, long ago I'd stopped thinking of Elizabeth as a potential Rotarian. I had, never rethought the whole thing after Elizabeth's family closed the business and Elizabeth retired. And then somebody brought up her name and I was like, yeah, what about Elizabeth? Why haven't I talked to her? She is a member of our happy hour meeting group now. So like I said, we brainstormed, it was a process of everybody working together, came up with a list of potential members, and then someone was assigned to every one of those names to contact, not one person, but who knew these people, who would be most comfortable contacting the potential members. And then we held people accountable. There was follow-up 2 to 3 weeks later. Marlene, did you talk to Elizabeth? Did you get an answer? As a result of that whole process, we held the kickoff meeting at the end of March this year. Now, when I say this whole process, it was about 1.5 years before we got to the point where we actually had that kickoff meeting. But we had the kickoff meeting. We've had 4 meetings since then. And as of today, we have added 16 new members to our club as a result of this process. So like I said, we tried something different. It worked. So be willing, think about different things you could do to make it work for your club to expand your membership. Step number 3 is to enhance participant engagement. Look at new ways for people to experience Rotary. I don't know is anyone in the room familiar with Rotary Means Business? A couple of nods.
Yeah.
Rotary Means Business has become very active in our district over the last couple of years, and they are, networking is not the primary focus of our Rotary Club meetings, but RMB is a fellowship under the umbrella of Rotary, and they are a networking fellowship. So they run their meetings as basically as a typical networking group would. They're very similar to like BNI or LATIP, if you're familiar with those organizations. And it's great for a couple of reasons. Number one, if you're a business owner and you want to refer one of your clients to another business, who better to refer them to than someone who operates by the 4-way test? But on the other hand, you don't have to be a Rotarian to be a member of Rotary Means Business. It's open to anyone. And a lot of the Rotarians participating in this have found that the non-Rotarians are becoming members as a result of learning more about Rotary through Rotary Means Business. So that's something to consider getting involved with. Also look at providing learning opportunities for leadership development. The Rotary Learning Center has some great courses that people may be interested in. Too many times we think of the Learning Center as something that, you get assigned to, Glenn, you're club president. Here's a list of classes for you to do in the Learning Center. Karen, you're AG. Here's a list of classes for you. But there are there's those type of courses out there, but there's some general interest courses out there, and they are really well done. And promote having a healthy club culture. Nothing is worse than having an issue in your club, whether it's a personality issue or a division over some decision in the club, and just like letting that fester until it becomes a major issue that threatens to destroy the club. If there's a problem, I really try and address it right away and keep Rotary a happy place for everyone to come to. The 4th step of the action plan is to increase our ability to adapt. Look at ways to streamline your processes. If there's something that you've been doing all the time and it no longer serves you, stop doing it. I don't know if you do attendance, but there's a lot of clubs who have stopped doing attendance. Now, if you're charging for meals, that you need to know that. But if it's not serving you, don't keep doing it. Be willing to take risks by doing something different, and be willing to change. The worst thing you can say in Rotary is, but we've always done it that way. Be willing to think about change, and again, if it doesn't serve you, don't keep doing it. So a few last words on the action plan. First of all, on the RI website, there is an action plan resource center that has more than you could ask for in terms of resources for the action plan, ways to implement it, talking points about the action plan, tools you can use in your club. So if you are interested in that, be sure and take a look at it. And the other aspect of the action plan is that it really encourages a 3-year planning process. So we always ask you to put your goals in Rotary Club Central. We're really asking you to look at your goals on a 3-year basis. So, membership is one of those goals. If your goal is to increase membership by 2 members, let's not just say, here's our goal, 2 new members. Let's look at 3 years. We're going to add 2 members this year. We're going to add 3 members in the second year and 3 members in the third year. And at the end of that first year, measure what you've done. How many new members have you added? Net new members. Are you up by 4 members? Great, you're doing something right. Maybe you want to adjust that year 2 goal to 4 new members or 5 new members. Push yourself a little bit. And at the same time, at the end of year 1, maybe adjust year 2, adjust year 3, and set a goal then for year 4. So you're always looking out 3 years, and you've kind of got that continuum of a plan going on. As part of that, I would also encourage you, if you don't have a leadership succession plan in place, I would encourage you to look at doing that. It's just really important to identify someone as soon as possible to be your president-elect for next year. And if you can have a president-elect and a president nominee and continue that process, that really makes life easier for everyone. So a couple of personal initiatives that I'd like to talk about. First, number 1 is I am bringing to our district an awareness about the prevention of cervical cancer. I know we've probably all been affected by cancer in some way or form, whether it's a family member, a good friend, ourselves. We all have had someone go through cancer. There is only one cancer that can be prevented, 100%, period, end of discussion, prevented, and that's cervical cancer. Cervical cancer is caused by HPV, and there's a vaccine that prevents HPV. So if we get our young teens vaccinated against HPV, we prevent cervical cancer. All right, guys, I know you stopped listening a couple minutes ago when I said cervical. This affects you as well. It affects men as well. Obviously, men don't have a cervix, but men can get throat and oral cancer from HPV. Now, the difference is that HPV is not the only cause of throat and oral cancer, but it definitely is a cause. And, it never hurts if you can take one thing off the list. And as I've been talking to people about this, I have had two women come up to me to say that their husbands had throat cancer caused by HPV. So it definitely is a thing. Rotary also has been active. Excuse me, I'm going to grab my water. And at one point, I'm going to have to write on the top of my notes, bring water glass up. But Rotary's been involved in a global grant basis with some cervical cancer screening equipment in countries with less developed health systems. So here in the U.S., Women go in ideally once a year to their doctor's office, and here's the key words, doctor's office, and the doctor does a pap smear. That sample gets sent off to a laboratory where it's analyzed. The results go back to the doctor's office. And you find out, have you been exposed to HPV? Do you have any cervical cancer cells in that sample? In countries with less developed healthcare systems, women may not see a doctor for years. It could take a woman 4 to 5 hours from a rural area to get into a doctor's office. And actually, when I say doctor's office, maybe it's only a medical clinic. Maybe it's not a full-fledged doctor's office. There's been equipment developed that can analyze a blood test for the presence of HPV. So a simple blood sample, it's put into this machine, analyzed, they get a result back right away. Does the woman have HPV or not? If the woman does have HPV, they can proceed with a course of treatment. If she doesn't, they don't have to screen her again for 5 years, because HPV is slow to cause cervical cancer. It's not a fast-acting disease. So a 5-year screening period is adequate for those situations. But it gives them a way, if you only have to see somebody once every 5 years versus annually, and you don't have to have a doctor on site to do this, it really increases the ability to screen for this cancer. And the plus side is that in some of these situations, if a woman should show up at a doctor's office and present with advanced stage cervical cancer, very honestly, they will give her painkillers and send her home, because there's no way that she's going to be able to come back for the type of treatment that's required. So she's sent home to die. So better to have this early screening than the alternative. And I skipped a whole section here, sorry. But again, at International Convention, there was a woman, Dr. Isabella, from University of Alabama, Birmingham, and this is her area of expertise, her area of study. And in Alabama, she started looking at the counties with the highest rates of cervical cancer. She found the one with sky-high rates, and they promoted an awareness campaign in that county for the vaccine. And in that particular situation, what they did was they went into the high schools, and they did a campaign in the high schools, and the high school students understood the need for this vaccine, went home and told their parents they needed to be vaccinated. They got the vaccination rate in that county up to almost 100%, and Alabama as a state is in the high 90s for their vaccination percentage. Illinois is only at 69%, and that's where I think we can do a better job of increasing awareness of the need for this vaccine and the reason for this vaccine. My second personal initiative is I like to see every club in our district do some sort of environmental project this year. A lot of clubs have done pollinator gardens. There are different cleanup projects, restoration projects in conservation district or forest preserve areas. There's recycling drives. A number of the club I was at this morning, they're organizing a styrofoam drive next week. There's a number of different things that can be done, but I think we need to make an effort to be a little kinder to planet Earth. Another one of the speakers at International Convention, she was a scientist with the Nature Conservancy, and she said, honestly, it's not about saving the planet, because no matter what we do, the planet's going to survive. The planet will be here. The question is, will we still have a place to live? Will our children and grandchildren be able to live on the planet as it exists? So I think we need to, do what we can. As individuals, we are, just one drop in the ocean, But if we can all do something, work together and do something good, we can have an impact. I will make a plug now for our district conference. District conference will be November 1st. That's a Saturday at College of DuPage. They'll be sometime in September. We'll get more details out with registration and a full agenda. And I encourage you, district conference is for everyone. It's not just for the club leadership. It's not just for district leadership. It's for all Rotarians, especially for Marty.
Yeah.
You have to say that, Marty. But it is for everyone. And with that, I'm going to close with our Rotary vision statement. Together, we see a world where people unite and take action to create lasting change across the globe, in our communities, and in ourselves. This year, let's unite for good. Thank you.
So we were successful with a satellite club many years ago. That's where Carpenter's Row came from. We've tried a couple things in the last few years that have really not gotten off the ground. With your happy hour club, how much do you charge an individual to be a member of that?
They pay district and international dues and a very small club fee. So I don't know the exact amount, but it's
200 maybe?
Yeah, I think it's a little over 200.
100 a quarter, according to John.
Okay.
He said that it
And
covered
it's for
the
one
cost.
meeting a month.
Yeah.
One meeting a month.
But there's nothing given at the meeting. You're on your own.
Right. And that out of that, at the end, the difference between what the district and the RI charged or they assessed, the difference would cover a polio or a foundation payment for each of those members.
Yeah,
So that was included.
So $100 a quarter, which would be a lot better than perhaps the full lunch menu type situation that we've had, which appears to be a little bit of an impediment in today's environment for some people that we'd like to get as members, but the cash out of pocket is a little bit restricted. So that's a good one to follow up on.
Yeah.
And we would do that, though, in lieu of a meeting, so you'd have to do it probably at the same time every month, all the time. And but it's a consideration that I'd like to discuss with the rest of the members at some point.
I was wondering something else. When you said you would reach out to people and have them come in and talk, but it took a year and a half before you could actually get going. What did you do with these people in the meantime?
We didn't start reaching out to people until about 2 months before our actual meeting date.
That makes more sense to me.
We were the meeting we had where we were brainstorming things. That was further down the road. So it was from the time. So Glenn just said we should talk about this. Okay, for our club that was about a year and a half before we were at the actual.
I just started thinking about that. She just brought it up again.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? All right. Thank you again for having me here. Great to see everybody.